On today's episode of the London, Ontario Real Estate Podcast, I'm going to be talking about 5 things not to do when selling your house in London, Ontario in the spring 2024 market. My name is Phil Bailey, and this is the London, Ontario Real Estate Podcast. Welcome back to the podcast. Thank you so much to everyone that has been awesome to listen to the podcast. Send me a message, send me a text, everything that you've been doing to kind of keep me going with the podcast as we enter this busy spring 2024 real estate market in London. I know I haven't done a podcast in the last little while, but I am going to be trying to pump these out at least once a month, maybe even twice a month over the next little while. So if you have an idea for the podcast, please just send me a message. You can text me 226-977-2348, and I'd be happy to either get you on as a guest if you have a cool idea for what we could talk about. Or of course, we could also get into a situation where we could just ask a few questions and get into that. So let's talk about the 5 things not to do when selling your house. Right now, the London, Ontario real estate market has changed. I've been telling my clients right now that since about January, I've noticed a bit of a switch was flicked and the market seems to have picked up. The momentum seems to be going towards the seller right now. If you look at the numbers, we are into multiple offers on a lot of homes. I know that you could price a house at whatever the heck you want. There's been houses priced at $299,000 selling, I think, in the 800s. So let's not think about the listing price as much, but let's think about what I'm noticing as the momentum in the market right now. And I'm noticing there are more buyers out there. The listings that we're seeing, I think, are moving relatively quickly. I'll give you an example. I know I'm not going to name the exact property because I got to follow all these ethics rules, but one of the properties that I've seen that probably would have sold in the mid 4s, maybe even lower 4s last year, maybe in even fall of 2023, that home has sold now into the 5s. So there's been a couple examples like that where that's a large increase. And I'm noticing, again, the buyers seem to be getting squeezed into that lower price point or these starter homes. So detached homes in most areas in London actually are definitely in demand right now that I've seen. And I think if you want to take advantage of this as a seller, there's 5 things that I'm recommending you do not do. And I can give you some advice on how we can turn these into things you should be doing, right? So number 1 is, and this is from examples that I'm seeing. Number 1, not decluttering and depersonalizing your home. This is really, really important. You go into a house and you see the family photos everywhere. They're on the fridge everywhere. That's cool. That's nice. I think your family's probably amazing. But I think the most important thing is you got to give that buyer the feeling when they're going to the house that they can actually live there themselves, right? So they're learning so much about you and they have to think of, let's look at this as a blank canvas, right? Also, just cleaning in general, decluttering in general. I think if I was to sell my house, having a small kid, I would be having to clean up a lot of stuff that's around me right now. I'm doing this from home right now, and I got the one little kind of image of what we're seeing that's definitely not have kids' toys in it. So I think it's important that you get rid of that stuff if you can, or get into a storage locker. Even put it, if you have an unfinished basement, for example, that's a good one, or maybe even a garage. When they're walking through that front door, a lot of buyers are making a buying decision relatively quickly, whether this is even an option for them or not. So if you have a bunch of stuff right at the front door, better to take that stuff, put it into a box, either put it in the basement if you need to hold on to it, put it in a storage locker. Hey, maybe you have a garage if you're lucky enough, or a shed somewhere that's secure that you could put it into, right? So that's something that's very, very important. So make sure that you're looking at decluttering and depersonalizing when you're selling your house. It's the number 1 thing on my list. I would also consider staging. I know some people are adamantly opposed to staging. There is a cost that comes with staging. A lot of the time I'm working with my clients to actually take on that cost in a lot of ways to make sure that we have a home that's going to sell quickly for you and that's going to show really, really, really well. To be honest, it makes me as an agent look better in many ways when I have listings that are just perfectly set up. And as my marketing background shows me, these things are really important to kind of maintain that momentum for your listing. So really, really important. Clean, declutter, depersonalize, consider staging. Number 2, things not to do when selling your house in London. not taking professional photos and video. This is something I'm still seeing. And I know that every professional photographer is not created equally. But if you look at my listings that I've done, everything is a professional photographer who's amazing. I will give them a shout out. Her name is Kate, Redbird Media in London. They are absolutely amazing. And I will use them forever, right? Because they're definitely in a spot where they are able to capture a home and offer various different ways of showcasing a home. So whether you're definitely going to be doing professional photos, because that's how the whole system really works and starts with, but I would consider video. I'd also consider doing virtual tour. Some people prefer the video, some people prefer the virtual tour. I'm kind of on the video side right now for various reasons, but actually I've done both in a lot of recent listings as well. And I can explain why. It really depends on the property and in terms of how it shows with virtual tour versus video. But inside baseball on that one, I just think that I'm still seeing homes that aren't having professional photos and video taken. Yeah, I have an iPhone. It's really cool. I can go around and take some cool photos of my family, but it's just not the same as the work that a professional photographer is able to do. So we want to make sure that we have them throughout the process and they're part of the team. I put together kind of a team here, and they are definitely an essential part, including also the staging side of it as well. That's part of the team. We have to have these people in place because they're experts in what they do, and they know a hell of a lot more than I do about this stuff. Number 3, not allowing as open as possible access for showings. So I've had clients in the past where they've had a very tight schedule for some reason. Maybe one of them works the day shift, one of them works the night shift. They have small children. Again, it's hard to clean up when you have small children. I've seen some absolute magicians out there that are able to turn a house around so quickly. You'll know who you are. If you're listening to the podcast, there's a few of you that I'm like amazed at how you have multiple children and now the house doesn't look like there's multiple children that live there. But most people would consider things like, hey, maybe go on vacation when the house first gets listed if you think it's going to be a quicker sale for you, and we're listed at the right purchase price. And I can give you some ideas of where that would be. I can also give you my professional feedback on that as well. Maybe consider going into the office if you work from home and you have an office to go into. I know clients that work, 2 days at home and 3 days in the office. Maybe for that week, I know it's going to be painful because you won't have your own coffee maker. But if you can go into the office just for those 5 days, I think it would make a world of difference to you. And yeah, if I'm letting you know about a showing, usually I can give you overnight notice for a showing, but not every single time because some people are in town, especially on the weekends. I find Saturday and Sunday, I would just plan on not being home if you're in a listing that that's going to get attention on. Some homes, I have some listings, over $1.2, $1.3 million in the area. Sometimes those do take a little bit of time. It really depends on where you are. So you're not expecting to have as many showings as one that's listed at $499 or $399 right now. That said, you got to be prepared and you have to kind of have your kit together. You're ready to go. You're ready to kind of get access to that. So if you say no to a showing request, I would look at it like especially in these multiple offer situations we're seeing right now in London, like you're just taking, $5,000, $10,000 and flushing it down the toilet. This is essential that you're giving me as much access as possible. Because again, we're a team that we're working together on this, and I'm trying to do what's in your best interest throughout the process. Open houses can also be a good option, but some people just can't get to open houses because they work maybe all weekend, right? London is an interesting city. There's a lot of people that are coming in from out of town that are buying here from the GTA. Weekends are important for those folks usually, but there's also folks that are nurses that work, firefighters that work 24-hour shifts, right? We have to get people into the house when it's convenient for them in order to get you the most money for your house. Number 4 is not having a plan at all. And I think this is part of where I can come in and help you with that plan. But if your home is listed at a certain price point and it's just not getting the attention that we need after we've done everything correctly. So, I mean, professional photos, staging potential, access, all those things are good. And we're still not getting the showings. And maybe the market has shifted a little bit like it did on us in 2023 for sure. And 2022, I think that's when you have to consider, hey, where are our new price points at based on comparable sales, and consider a price reduction. You want to act quickly on that. You don't want that to just go on forever and ever and ever, because just trying something in a market, and I do hear this sometimes of, hey, I'm going to try to get $1 million from my house that's worth 500,000. Not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. This is something that you need to get out of your mind and look at comparable sales and also talk to me about this or talk to a real estate agent you trust, right? And that brings me into number 5 of things not to do when selling your house. And that is not hiring a real estate agent. It is a bad idea. I am extremely biased here, but it is a bad idea to try to just go on this on your own. I would not recommend it. I think that some agents, and maybe I come across like this, like I know a lot of stuff. And I think I do know a lot of stuff, but I would never consider myself the smartest guy about real estate in London at all. I think the advantage, though, that I do have is that I've done this hundreds of times. I have done this over and over and over again with clients. I've seen what issue could come in that we can solve before it even becomes an issue. I know the rules. I know what we should be doing and what we shouldn't be doing. I know when someone is trying to, negotiate against me, and after going through some negotiation training and things that I've done even more recently, I think I know that even better now. And this is something that I take this job very, very, very seriously. And I think that whoever you hire as your real estate agent, you obviously want someone who's professional, that communicates well with you, and that collaborates with you. Those are the 3 things that I talk about a lot with my clients when I'm selling properties or working with buyers as well. And I think that having that professional in your corner at every step of the way is essential, and it's going to put more money in your pocket at the end of the day, even after you're paying us, obviously, to do our job as well. So those are the top 5 things of not to do when selling your house in London. So a couple additional tips that I have right now of things that you should be doing is, as this market is changing in the London area, I think there's 2 things that I would, consider right now. One, if you're going to be listing your house, I would start doing some of this to-do list. But I think one of the things that you can start with is setting up a free home valuation. Yeah, again, I'm biased here. It doesn't have to be me, whatever agent you talk to. You can set up a free home valuation. You can get someone to give you the advice of, hey, this is probably where you're going to sell in the current market. But I can also, as I go through that process, I'm also saying, hey, that thing over there needs to be removed or should probably be removed. Again, I'm collaborating with my clients. That hole in the wall should be patched. That stain that was already fixed 5 years ago that still has an issue needs to be fixed. Maybe you need to get a painter in. Maybe you need to get a storage unit. All those kinds of things can happen at that part of the process. I think some people think, hey, let's give me a call when I'm ready to list right now. And I think the better way to do it is do things like maybe at least a month out or 2 months out. All of the discussions that I've had over the last little while are things that are happening at least, like, I'd say 1 or 2 to 3 weeks out. Sometimes even like 2 months out, 3 months out, right? So I want to get into that house, because if I'm not into your house, I can't give you an idea just magically based on the internet where your house is going to sell. I need to see the house. And some people ask me to do that, and I just say, no, I can't do that. It's not professional of me to do that. To go into a house is one of the first steps, and it should be a pretty obvious step, that I need to physically see your house to give you an idea of how much it's worth. If you want to know how much your car is worth, you can't usually just go on the online calculator. I know sometimes you get to the dealership and they give you a different number. I don't want to do that. I just want to tell you, hey, this is where I'm at. I need to physically see your house. The other thing is too, some people think, oh, I'm wasting your time, Phil. I don't want to bother you with all this stuff because I'm not even sure if I'm going to sell this year. Guys, friends, I love talking about real estate. This is one of my main passions in my entire life. I love it. I love talking about it. I love hearing about it. I love learning about it. I love learning about different neighborhoods, different homes. I've been in a house the other day that had such cool, like, historic background on it that I just found super cool to kind of be able to see all of that. And I think that it's really important that, again, this is a relationship business for me. And this is something that at the end of the day, I kind of want to work with you throughout this process, right? So finally, I'll leave you with kind of one more thing. And that is, if you're looking at the market right now, again, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I am seeing, and I'm noticing this very, very, very clearly and quickly has been happening in London, is that the market does seem to be changing. Again, since January, I noticed it got significantly more busy with my buyers that I'm working with. In the last, say, month or two, I'm noticing probably more like month, like March. We're now into April, by the way, as we're recording this, April 2024. I'm noticing now it's a lot of the listing, the listing conversations, which is probably pretty normal in a normal year, but I'm noticing it's coming even more with more momentum. So again, these are the conversations I think you should be having now if you want to have a chance of buying a home in 2024, because the market will usually give you your option in the next, say, April, May, or June. That's when a lot of listings will come on the market. And that's when I'm seeing stuff. And even if, hey, the house is still available in maybe August, great. But the summer usually starts slowing down a little bit in the London area. And I think that if you're looking at listing your house and even buying something else, you have to kind of walk and chew gum at the same time. And we need to do this together. So there's ways and strategies we can do this. I think if you're looking at that, and we talked about this in a previous episode, but I think if you're looking at buying another place and selling your condo or whatever it may be, or a smaller home, you have to think, what makes more sense to me? Does it make sense for me to purchase first and then know I'm going to sell at a certain price? I think that was it's still very scary right now to do that because the market has changed. Some folks, what they're doing is that they're listing and they're selling, knowing how much money they have to work with, and then doing a long, say, 90-day close, right? So then they have 3 months to find something else. If they're overly picky and they want something very, very specific, yeah, some people will have to buy first. You could consider a condition to sale, but I'm noticing at certain price points now, those are just almost going to disappear. They were pretty much gone during the pandemic, by the way. Maybe at certain price points, definitely I'd say over $1 million, which I know sounds really expensive, but that's becoming something where that's a normal price point in the London area, depending on where you are. And I think that's something that you have to consider of how do we want to approach this. So we have to have a conversation about that. I'd say your safest bet, list your house, do a longer close, and then obviously purchase something after you have a firm deal. But some people don't want to do that. So we can consider a condition of sale. If they can't do that, then some people actually are purchasing knowing that their house is going to sell at a conservative number. And that's what I can help with, but I can't guarantee anything. And the market isn't something that I can control, right? But I am noticing the momentum definitely going towards the seller. So that brings me to the end of this podcast. I just want to thank you so much for taking a listen to the podcast. This has been a fun thing that I've been doing actually for a couple of years now, at least. And if you have any suggestions, again, please just send them through to me, something I could talk about. Maybe you want to be a guest. My number, again, 226-977-2348. You can text me is probably the best way to get a hold of me. Or you can just go to my website. There's a contact form on there. So it's just www.philbailey.ca. Very original. You can go there. You can read a little bit more about me, my reviews, how I approach real estate as well. And I'm starting to post the podcast there as well. So you can listen to all the last podcast episodes, or if you can also listen, of course, on Apple Music, Spotify, all the other things that I put the audio only version out. One favor, if you can, is I did start my YouTube channel a little while ago and really starting to build that. So I'm going to be posting this full episode on the YouTube channel in the next little while. If you can go there, give it a like, subscribe to the channel on YouTube, and just say, hey, this is where I saw about this, that would be awesome. I know not everyone can look at my my pretty face all the time, and they need to listen to this in their car, which is actually what I do most of the time with podcasts. But I do think it is a cool opportunity to kind of have that on the background when you're working on stuff. And the video thing works really well, obviously, for getting these clips out onto social media as well. So you can follow me on Instagram. It's probably my biggest one that I use a lot. I'm also on TikTok. Instagram is just the Phil Bailey. I think TikTok is the same. And I also have Facebook as well. You can just search for me and find me on there as well. I hope everyone has a great day. It is spring 2024 in London, Ontario. That means the spring real estate market is here. I am always here to help. Call me, text me, email me, go to my website, whatever you need. Again, my name is Phil Bailey. I'm a real estate agent in London, Ontario with the HouseSigma team, and I'm always here to help. Have a great day. Take care, everyone.